A very good evening to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to invite the worthy panelist of the day for the discussion on new education policy ways ahead. I, Sanandi Sachdeva, on behalf of Jaipuria Institute of Management, Indrapuram, Ghaziabad, welcome you all to the webinar. Before moving, I would like to tell you that Jaipuria Institute of Management was set up by Seth Anandram Jaipuria Education Society in the year 2001. The institute offers MBA in Business Analytics started in the year 2020, MBA in BFSI started in the year 2022. The institute has been accredited by NAC with a grade A. The institute is known for providing ethically sound and emotionally balanced students to the corporate. May I now welcome the esteemed academicians for the day. First of all, Dr. Madhu Vij, ex-professor, Faculty of Management Studies, Delhi University. Dr. Madhu is PhD in Finance from Delhi University and had been working with FMS for more than 40 years. She is an acclaimed academician in the area of finance. A very warm welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
I now welcome Dr. Deepak Tandon, Professor, International Management Institute, New Delhi. Professor Tandon has an extensive experience in industry and academia, currently with International Management Institute as professor. His area of interest includes finance and accounting. Dr. Tandon has also been associated with international universities, including University of Luton, Bedfordshire, UK, Sassoon University, Bangkok. A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I also welcome Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra, Director, Maths Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Bangalore. A PhD holder in economics, Dr. Mishra's experience is spread over a period of 2 decades in various facets of academia. Being a vibrant learner in the course of his professional journey, he has gained proficiency not only in the different aspects and nuances of teaching, research, administration, institution building, but he has also been handling cross-cultural scenarios and has worked with people having varied backgrounds. A very warm welcome, sir. I welcome Professor Dr. Devendra Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management. Dr. Narang is the director at Jaipuria Institute of Management, an academician, an avid researcher, and acclaimed teacher. With him, he brings an extensive experience of more than 25 years in the field of academia and management in best business and management institutes of India and abroad. A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I am also elated to welcome Dr. Vandana Ahuja, Dean, Academics, Jaipuria Institute of Management. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanandi.
And Dr. Ashwini Varshne, Dean, Student Welfare, Jaipuria Institute of Management. Welcome, sir. I now request Dr. Devendra Narang to take the session forward with the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
So very good afternoon to everybody. I'm very happy that we are talking coming on the virtual platform to talk about the NEP 2020. And exactly this was the period when the COVID was there. So now, though we are come out from that pandemic and but yes, the journey which was started, from year 2020 by the government of India. So it was, after 34 year, the government has given the National Education Policy 2020, and in fact is a policy of 21st century, which going to overhaul the whole education system of India, which was earlier it was given in 1986. Well, the policy has a vision to create a reflection of a good citizen among learner by developing knowledge, skills, and the wisdom among the new generation, among the student, which ultimately lead to make them responsible, which they can go with the sustainable and rightful decision making, and their reflection will be in the global front. Well, we all know, if we talk about the education policy in totality, I can understand, one, it is giving the openness, which was, earlier, if we think our education system was, going in a closed manner, in a the system driven manner. But now, the feature of this policy is they are given a, openness, and a transparency, and then, a system which will be, convenient to every student, coming from the school to the higher education. So that is the, good thing of this policy, though this policy is focusing on various area, because our audience is also today's student is also there, academicians is there, faculty is there. So if I talk about the student, the most important part of this policy is it is a student centric, because it, giving the flexibility in the curriculum, and you can anytime you can, exit, and have a, the award of that your study till that time. So that is a good thing. Then, they made it academic bank of credit, and also they focusing on the vocational education for the students. So that is the important part. And when we talking about the vocational, that means that the entire vocational is the skill based, the curriculum and the courses. Then coming to the faculty, this policy is also focusing on the teacher educational institutions. It also talking about the national mission on mentoring. There is a professional development and the leadership for the faculty, and in fact lot many things already is going to happen. AICT is also, started many the areas for the, especially for development of the faculty. So that is a good thing. And but yes, still, more has to be covered. Then this policy is also focusing on the research and innovation, is talking about the multidisciplinary educational research universities, and also, to talk about the setting up of the national research foundation. So that is the important, feature of this policy. Then is the governance is also, the major issues which we have seen in the past, and lot of autonomy is going to give to the higher education institution through these policies. So this policy is talking about the independent self-governing higher education institution. They're also talking about the institutional restructuring and consolidation for the multidisciplinary, because many institutions are, working in a standalone basis, and maybe in the single stream or maybe dual stream. But when we are talking about the multidisciplinary, so there need to be, consolidation, and there need to be collaboration among the institutions at the higher education level. And that flexibility is also, is also given by this the policy. But yes, there is lot of nitty gritty is required, how it will be implement, or and how it will be work out, because student is coming to the at one institution and then going for the other institution for the another course. So there need to be, set the system, and the how it will be work. Then, if this policies also, set some target, because when we are talking about the gross enrollment ratio at the higher education level, which is it is still pegged at around 26-27%. But yes, this policy is also targeting, yes, will go in another 10 to 15 year, by in fact rather in 10 by 2035, to the 50% the target is fixed. So that is also a good thing if it is this policy is supporting, and enrollment ratios increase. Also is also focusing on the collaboration at international level. They have opened up also these foreign players, the foreign universities, the higher education institution. They should come into India and set up their campuses and to impart the knowledge, and also they should compete with the Indian institutions. So that is also a good feature. And the most important feature is also focusing on the digital learning. In fact, I remember, I think this one first online university is also going to set up or is already set up, and that is also a good thing. They're also focusing on the quality open distance learning program. And the complete digital transformation is also required through these policies, and every higher education institutions now is moving towards. And we also seen the role of the SWAM on Diksha platforms, which we have already operated, and it's strengthening day by day. So that is also a very good thing. So we can say this policy, we have many good things in the policy which we did not have into our system and education system in last around almost 50 years. So we are moving from traditional to the modern way, that is given which is giving the flexibility of the learning. So that is the most important thing. So it's really a good initiative by Government of India, which is equipping the learner to meet the rapidly evolving global landscape. So NEP 2020 is a major opportunity for all the key stakeholders, especially in the education field, to enact the major reforms and implementation, for making the highest standard, and increasing the quality and the equity and the integrity in the higher education system. So it's a good initiative, and in fact it's already started. And let's hope we'll have once again the education system which should be recognized and renowned in all over the world. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much, giving me the opportunity to speak on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the tone right for today's webinar. I now request Dr. Ashwini Vashne to please take the session forward by being the moderator of the session. Over to you, sir.
To add into what Dr. Narang said in the inaugural address, according to me, education must move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative, multidisciplinary, how to be innovative and adapt and absorb the changing requirements of the industry. The new education policy 2020 released by the Government of India with the vision to transform the whole education system in the country by making it more holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary, and inclusive. The policy also aims to promote research and innovation and to make India a global hub for higher education. In true sense, it is a progressive, ambitious, and transformative guidelines handed over to the nation by the Government of India. The intent of the policy seems to be idle in many ways, but it is the implementation where lies the key to success. So without much ado, let's begin the discussion. And I look forward to have a very impactful discussion, which I believe can also throw some light on the existing system of education. So Professor Madhu, first from you. So let us know the views of Professor Madhu, an eminent professor in higher education from the government sector and in panel of various higher education regulatory bodies. Madam, what fundamental changes you see in the future education system by the implementation of NEP, particularly in higher education?
Okay.
Professor Madhu.
So good afternoon and very, very warm welcome to all our panelists. Let me start by saying that between Professor Narang and Professor Vashne, they have given us a good account of what the NEP is all about. So I think we'll have to do a lot of thinking out of the box to give our own suggestions. And let me start by saying that this is precisely what the NEP is. It is going to help each one of us to think out of the box. And, how do you think out of the box? You have to put together the capabilities of all the students and the faculties with a focus on cross-functional thinking. And, even though it has been repeated a lot of times in NEP, but the great, and I would say a very great contribution of the NEP is it discourages rote learning. And it forces us to, think in a very innovative way, in a very different way. And this will help, in creating an ecosystem so that for all higher education institutions, the students and the faculty, the learning becomes enjoyable. So, it's like I'm enjoying what I am doing. Just one more aspect which I would like to mention here is, the new education policy breaks down the functional silos. And when I say breaks down the functional silos, I mean the finance, the marketing, the HR, the logistic, and the production. So it is ensuring, or it is at least a way ahead, that all the disciplines move together. And I make this point a little more with specific reference to the management institutes, that we all think together, put our logics together, and then think of a holistic approach to education. So I think this is another important focus of the NEP, which will transform India into a vibrant international hub. As was being mentioned, we are going to be inviting, or we are going to help or make it a little more proactive, a lot of international universities to set up shop here. And that is what will help our students get the best of education and the best of the environment, and a good, I would say, a learning environment. So that would be from my side. Thank you.
Professor Tandon, you belongs to the premier business school of the country. So what transformation you see that NEP will bring in management education particularly?
Yeah, there are a lot of, thank you, Dr. Ashwini, Dr. Mara, Dr. Vandana, Dr. Mishra, and the panelists. Yes. When I see these schools, I still feel that we are not on the top. So the need, as Dr. Vid says, Madhuram says, that it's an international approach, a holistic approach. I would like to put it that in case you want to be on an effective implementation of NEP, the qualitative initiative has to come from the academic excellence. When we talk about holistic cultural diversity, gender diversity, and we look at ease of business, re-engineering, these are some words I'm using. Actually, permit me to use these words again and again, because I'll only say, as Dr. Narang and Dr. Madhu say, when anything comes to India, it is always criticized. But then NEP is too good. I've already read the whole of the NEP, the UGC charter, and if there is a problem, NEP is taking care of it. The covenants are too good, the wonderful document. It is best from the children. We right from the childhood, Anganwadi to your upbringing, and it is going to give you all the 5 pillars. When actually I compare it with IMI, which is we have the foreign collaborations. I think everything of NEP we are touching into IMI, right? We have interface, we have foreign faculty, our faculty keeps on going and giving lectures, pedagogy is already there. But then we find only 5 pillars, which I would name, and permit me, Ashwini, is access to everything. Access to what? The resources. We have plenty of resources. So it's a corporate sponsored business school. So number two, there is affordability. Affordability means the survival of the best. So it's a pretty higher fee as compared to the Indian, but then the ROI is also quite high. And the quality of education, we recruit the best, and the faculty members, so intellectual capital, we invest into that. We really invest into that. And as of today, the 3 P's: publish, practice and profess, or you perish. That words are very, very clear. Equity, if we talk about the equity, the balance of convenience, NGO, CSRs, we are doing a lot. Then the accountability factor, yes, IMI is known for accountability. It's a zero tolerance, which is already there. Either you perform or you betray organization. So these 5 pillars, and Dr. Narang says that the governance part, the board of directors, the governance, the charters, it's all meetings, everything is documented, due diligence is already there. NEP takes care of that. Yes, only the idea of NEP, Ashwini, would be that you would like to decrease the processing fees. When you decrease the processing fees, as on today, IMI does not have any management seat. As on today, we don't have any reservations. Unlike the IAMS, we don't have. But NEP, that's a negative criticism of the NEP. NEP wants that the reservation should be there, and you must have an upliftment, financial inclusion for the excluded people should be there. But then, as rightly put by Dr. Madhav ma'am, that it's a multidisciplinary approach which has to be looked into, and it has to be a collaborative processes which have to be looked into. We give scholarships. And innovative portals, employability, entrepreneurship cells, incubators, consultancy, all this is there. Now, Ashwini, only 1 minute I'll take and I'll give the ball back to you just after this question. And my dear students, my dear faculty members, we should know very, very clearly how this NEP is totally different from the existing structure. Is it only the learning processes? Is it only the classroom practices? Is it only the curriculum revamping? Or it is academic curriculum integrating into the holistic, as Dr. Madhavij rightly says, that it should be the quality of the education, which is most important. And FMS is known. I'm a product of that. I know how it, how we have been working into the MBA curriculum. NEP emphasizes on the faculty selection and the faculty driven. I still remember IMI, our late Dr. Pritam Singh used to always say, invest into the intellectual capital. They never let you down. The institute is going to grow. It's a growth model. It's out of the fixed box. And last but not the least, alumni engagement. We have all invited everything from our alma mater FMS. And the alumni engagements are too good here. Yeah. So character building is the main thing. Project management, and she rightly said just now, I'm again repeating, we should be out of finance, we should be out of HR, we should out of production, and basically we should have some more diversified, multidisciplinary approach for the society, upliftment of the society, give a good citizen, best of the resources should be given. Over to you, Ashwini.
Professor Mishra, what Professor Tandon have mentioned, that NEP states that the pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry driven, in fact, discovery oriented, learner centered, and of course, enjoyable. Professor Mishra, you are at a leadership position, being the director and the seasoned academician. What pedagogical changes you see in the classroom by the implementation of NEP? What is your takeaway from this NEP?
Yes, Dr. Narang, esteemed panelists, Professor Vaishne, Dr. Vandana, and my dear fellow faculty members and students in audience. It's a great occasion to discuss NEP way forward. And I think even more interesting is to discuss the very central transaction that we call pedagogy, because this is what decides the interest in the class and outcome of the out of the class. So this is very critical aspect. If you look at NEP, it has tried to touch base every aspect of the education system inside out, and it has tried to bring in the requisite changes to make it effective, relevant, and also up to the mark if we look at the global benchmarks. And in that respect, one thing that we as an Indian education system has been always accused of, that we have been promoting rote learning by whatever means, that is a different issue. But it has been always given a blame that Indian education system is has been promoting or has been following the rote learning system, where we are not able to promote the creativity of the students, and the very poor research outcome or unemployability has been quoted as the evidence that our graduates are not employable. We do not have the matching research output. The new education policy has brought flexibility at all levels. Flexibility in designing curriculum, which has to be very individualistic to the institution, driven from the mission and vision. It is not to be made a kind of a standard curriculum to be followed across. The same program have a curriculum very different in one institution from the other, depending upon the requirement. And when we are saying the requirement, it takes into account the purpose of the institution, what the institution want to contribute, as well as how does it relate to the local ecosystem. So an university in the rural area may have a curriculum which is largely trying to encourage the engagement of the student on the issues which are pertinent there, while another university in the hub of the industry may have altogether a different kind of curriculum. And accordingly, the NEP talk about outcome-based education. And when you are talking of outcome-based education, pedagogy has to ensure that the pre-stated outcomes of the learning in the program has been attained. So what should be the pedagogy? How should it be utilized? One, of course, it should be engaging. It should be promoting creativity. It should be encouraging individual contribution to the learning process. At the same time, it should ensure that the outcome of the program, outcome of the programs are met appropriately. And it does not bind anything. If you see the series of reforms which has come to support the NEP, on one hand, you have got a choice-based credit system, so a student can choose what they want to study. You have got outcome-based education. The outcome of the learning is very clear to both faculty and the student, and that will determine that how the engagement is going to happen. Then you have got the examination reforms, which also give you flexibility that you need not go for 3 hours written examination for every course, and the question pattern may not be same. The courses can be crafted in a way that encourage the learning, of the course, rather than putting pressure for having a rote learning and performing in the exam for marks. So your course may have a different way of engagement, which is aligned to assessment also. Earlier, the problem was whatever way you do, examination was very rigid, and that creates a conflict. A student has to ultimately move towards the way that can help them scoring more marks in the exam. That is no more the case. You can decide your examination. It may be fully project-based, it may be fieldwork-based, or it may be a seminar examination, depending upon how have you crafted and how your entire session plan has been worked out in light of the course learning outcomes. So these things are given. This is the institutions have already started adapting to such pedagogies. So you see the course-wise engagement is no more confined to the same chalk and talk. Lot of mix of pedagogical interventions are coming to practice, and people are happily adapting it, which students are also appreciating. So you see the project-based or project-centric learning has emerged as one very important aspect, where the outcomes are, or higher level outcomes are being taken into account when it comes to creating something or reconstructing the knowledge, having a different way of working out the models to solve various problems. Those things are being more successfully achieve when it goes to outcome-based project-centric learning, which are not possible by your chalk and talk or 3-hour written examination system. Other hand, you see the entire program, whether irrespective of its mode, has been made equal. So students are also having a lot of flexibility to learn. So whether you do something online, you do it by distance education, or you do it in the regular campus, all are being given equal status, which is very, very revolutionary. And here the institutions are challenged to survive, because whatever way you are charging the fees and engaging the student, and whatever student considered to be value taking away from this entire process has to be compared with his other alternatives, and alternatives are all equal. No way the degrees are going to be categorized as inferior or superior. It's very, very revolutionary, and is going to have a lot of significance in terms of how we engage students and how do the students perceive having learned whatever they have been attempting to. The second is the entire education system, right from preschool to PhD, has been integrated. Recently, we had our national curriculum and credit framework, which was released, and that is very, very revolutionary. Now there is an equivalence, whether you learn in the class or you learn on the work, by work experience, whether you have come from vocational domain or you have come from the regular stream. What is going to be the equivalence? There is no ambiguity anymore. Your learning has been very appropriately mapped and quantified. So you can always claim that whatever you have learned by whatever means has got a matching value, and that you can always claim. So if you compare it all, the institutions are moving towards more of engagement of students, leading to better learning. The variety of pedagogical interventions are now being encouraged and being adapted, because your examination center is examination reform is also supporting that, and this equivalence of the programs by all the means are giving students a flexibility. So this is how the entire engagement teaching learning is being evolving. All the guidelines are coming. If you see, the entire regulatory body has been in high action. Every day you find one or other guideline. So all these are shaping up. And as it appears, that soon we will have a well-integrated, well-structured, and very flexible education system, which will have a space of every learner and every facilitator to create the highest order value. Another aspect in terms of learning intervention, this is the first policy which has clubbed the outcome on the campus, which is your research leading to innovation and then entrepreneurship. So your research is not just something which is the internal property which nobody reads or only selected people reads. It has to read to a level where it can have the commercial value, which will help the institution to sustain and also support a lot of enterprises to come out of campus. And it is creating a wave. If you see the number of startups that has come in last 5 years, and the way campuses are getting the entrepreneurial interest of the students, that is a very good sign. So overall, if you see the teaching learning process, the engagement, and the variety of pedagogical interventions are going to be more richer, and it is going to provide the academic institution creating much higher value. Thank you.
Professor Mishra, you have raised a lot of major points from the NEP. In fact, it is a third major education policy after independence and was long awaited. We are all seeing this policy, new policy, as a policy of the people, by the people and for the people, which ensures to build an inclusive society. Professor Madhu, in this context, what are the goals of NEP, to be precise?
Okay, yeah. So it is good listening to Professor Tandon and Professor Mishra, because it gives us an overall perspective, and with all the additions which are being made by you. Let me be a little precise here. The there are a lot of goals which the NEP is emphasizing, and I'm sure we'll go ahead and we would take care of all of them also. But I think the most important aspect of the NEP is that it's trying to build an inclusive education, an inclusive culture. Now, what do we mean by that? What the policy is trying to emphasize is that it is looking at education. Yes, you need to give education because that's how our students will fly. But you also need to look at the mental and the physical well-being, the mental and the physical health of our students. So I think the NEP is, they do talk about good infrastructure and, a lot of other things. And I found that, the best part was the reduction in the weight of the school bag. I think that is the kind of approach which is more like a forward-looking approach, which the NEP is aiming at. But let me also, again, if I come back to the B schools and a lot of learning from my experience teaching at FMS is that, we are building good leaders, as what Professor Tandon said. We are building good leaders, but are we also building good human beings? So I think that is something which we need to inculcate in our students. So whether it is spirituality, whether it's ethics, whether it's good behavior, or what is the work culture. Now, I think that is something which we need to build in all papers, in all facets of education. So let's not leave it to OB or some other disciplines where we say, okay, these are the theories and that's how we'll go at it. Now, being a professor of finance, Professor Tandon would know, and all of you would know, that we have slowly inculcated all this in our teaching in a very, very regular way. So what or how do we ensure that our students talk about ethics and good corporate governance? I think that is what is also what I would say blended learning would be, And just one more dimension to this, the other goal of NEP would be, and that's something which we also need to learn is, our focus in the last few years has been a lot on PPTs, So you put the PPT and that's where my role stops. That's not where the exact learning with the students would happen. So let's do a little, out of the box thinking here. And I think with a lot of all this, we would go miles and ways ahead and probably follow the NEP in both true spirit, not in terms of words, but really in the way it has been, introduced and formulated. So that would be from my side. Thank you.
In fact, we always say education must build character, enable learners to be ethical, rational, compensate, and caring, while at the same time prepare them for the gainful fulfillment, employment. So Professor Tandon, how this new education policy will help in overcoming barriers to education?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rashmi. Only thing is, I would like to add more fillip to what Dr. Madhu and Dr. Mishra said, is what are the barriers which are there into the education of the B school at the minute? We are facing a lot at the minute. And when me and Dr. Madhu keep on going for accreditations and we go for, we just only ask one thing. One is infrastructure, every B school may be having it. Okay. When the infrastructure, every B school may be having it, every B school at the minute has lack of funds, which NEP has attacked very rightly. First barrier I will put it is lack of funds. And the second barrier I would like to put is the non-availability of the good teachers. Teacher selection I mean the faculty. We have gone through all various accreditation bodies, the top one being the NIRF and into the AACAB, international accreditation, and the domestic accreditation. But then when we talk in terms of our accreditations, NEP attacks that all should be scrapped, UGC, AICT, and only one unified accreditation should be there. So there should not be any barriers and your due diligence, documentation, if it is perfect, it should work into that. The third basically is, as rightly put by Dr. Madhu, was that disabilities should not hinder. There are we focus on the disability children also, and when we go, we always ask the institute, have you created your even the washrooms, and how do you take the disabled faculty members? So it's mandatory as on today. Another barrier which comes to my mind in a B school is the conflict management. Everywhere there is a lot of conflict. NEP talks and overviews are put by Dr. Naran and Dr. Mishra that risk management, the CSR, the curriculum revisiting, ethics, as told by Dr. Madhuvesh, that the work culture has to be created on a proactive, on a productive basis, so that we always put the citizens into our, I'll come to that Ashwini later, that what is this education 4.0? We must aim, we will come to our industry interface.
Okay.
Nowadays, they are saying a true academician is one who must always be from the industry also having exposure, and the industry people should also be inducted onto faculty members so that the students get a face and they are going to get into the various facets. Employability is the main thing which is there for a B school. So when we look into the employability, we must come out of the barriers of innovation. The digitalization is coming in a very big way. So our students go into a lot of IT hubs and into a lot of, we don't want people to be, after the perish after 2 years, 3 years, or keep on changing the jobs, which is happening at the minute. NEP talks about the stability, scalability, reliability, robustness of the individuals from a holistic personality, as rightly put forth by Dr. Madhuvesh. Over to you, Ashwini.
Professor Mishra, this Jaipuriya Institute of Management is into the management education from last 2 decades. So according to you, how the single stream institute will make way for multidisciplinary institute in the next 10 years or 15 years?
That is a big issue with many of the institutions which are called as standalone institutions in management, and which has been offering such programs. And this issue is also with the specialized institution, for example, agricultural university or medical university, because they have been very specialized, focused institutions, have been created for a given purpose. But the new education policy has set up a purpose which is perhaps much bigger and much larger. It says that let us transform it into multidisciplinary large institutions. Large institutions, because that will bring the scale. Professor Tandon was talking about the resource constraint. So if you have got a scale, your resource constraint would be addressed to great extent. And multidisciplinarity, because once you have got a multidisciplinary approach, then only you can look at the problem solving, because problem solving is not single discipline approach. Suppose we had to address the issue of the pollution. Now, pollution is not a single discipline approach. You need to look at the sources, you need to look at the availability of fuel, you need to look at its impact on the well-being of the people from the employment point of view, from the health point of view. So there are diverse issues which comes into play, and by one single approach you cannot solve. So that is its basic spirit, that people should develop a holistic perspective, and that is possible when they are having a cross-fertilization of idea. When they work with the multiple discipline, they can perhaps provide the good solution. What will happen to large number of small single discipline institutions? The guideline has already come, which says that how can the institution become multidisciplinary, and it has offered various options. Option number one is the single discipline institutions can start departments from other disciplines. So suppose you have got a management institution, you can start Department of Economics or Department of Psychology and start some courses from that, start some program out of that. So these institutions can start gradually building the department and start other program to gradually become a multidisciplinary. The option number two is they can aspire to become the full university themselves and bring all the requisite discipline so that they become multidisciplinary. The third option is they can try to merge with some existing university, or they can become adjunct institution of the existing university, or else they can form a cluster. So there are institutions which are, there is a small institution in management, there is a small institution in commerce, some in arts, humanities. So these set of institutions in the vicinity can try to form a cluster and collectively become multidisciplinary, where the student can take courses from different discipline to different campuses. That is another option which is being offered. Or the last option is these institutions can become autonomous degree granted colleges. Obviously, if they have to become, that is a status, and for that again they will have to create the multidisciplines on their campus. So variety of the options are being suggested, and the detailed guidelines has been issued by UGC. It is already there, and institutions have started working on that. Those which are proactive, they have started acting on those guidelines. We all need to explore what works to our context and what will be meeting our ambition and our vision. That way we need to choose one of the possible options.
Professor Madhu, your take on how we can move towards a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary curriculum, and what will be the impact of this according to you?
Let me sum up this whole issue of multidisciplinary with one single or two or three lines or a question. When the problems facing organizations are not unidirectional, how can solutions be unidirectional? And with this perspective, we do need a multidisciplinary or an interdisciplinary or a cross-functional approach. Suppose I'm a marketing head. I'm selling my product. Now you'll say, I don't need finance, but yes, I do need to know what the competitor's price is, what my price is, what is my threshold level. So the summation here is that when the problems in today's context are global, they are multidimensional. I mean, that's how we would definitely need to train our students, So that would be, my summation to this whole multidisciplinary, cross-functional approach.
Well taken, ma'am. Well taken. Professor, in fact, if we look at the Indian higher education system, it consists of 1,000 plus universities, 42,000 plus colleges, and 11,000 plus standalone institutions, and majority of them are owned by the private players. So in the current landscape, Professor Mishra, my question is from you. So in the current landscape, how the private players must overcome the challenge of quality of faculty, rigidity or non-flexibility in curriculum, or paucity of research at higher education level?
See, the paucity of quality faculty is not problem of one institution. It is a universal problem because our education system has not invested enough in creating quality faculty. So that has been one thing that we need to confess and accept. And that is how every single institution has that challenge. And that will not be overcome overnight. That will have to be, effortfully created, for which we have got a lot of teachers training. One is, if you see in the structure of the PhD itself, they have made that every PhD scholar has to undergo teaching work in the new education policy. And that way he has to be trained, mentored to become a good faculty while he is engaging in higher level research. So that is one solution which will take its own time. for existing faculty, the policy suggests a lot of training and upgradation. In fact, it has made it mandatory that every faculty need to have some learning credentials every year to remain updated. And for that, all the forums are open. It may be online, it may be in person, it may be short-term training program, or it may be full-fledged training program on the given issue. And these are all at all three levels, at your subject expertise, at your pedagogical intervention, or at your research competency. At all the three level, everyone has to undergo some training every year to remain updated. So this is how the new education policy first acknowledges this issue and try to address. So far as private institutions are concerned, their problem is more towards how to meet the means and attract good faculty. You know that to attract good faculty, Madhu Madam is there, and so is Deepak Tandonji, who are working in one of the best institutions. They will know that what kind of autonomy they enjoy and what kind of flexibility in terms of deciding what they will prefer to do and what not they enjoy. So you need to get the faculty right for the job they are crafted for. You cannot use them for the jobs which they may not wish to do, or which does not add the proportionate value. So that culture has to be brought into, and it is going to be the real challenge, because as a private institution, you cannot try to treat the faculty as a kind of trainer or as a kind of manual labor. You will have to first facilitate them for creating the higher level value in terms of their good quality teaching, which comes from their research and learning by themselves. Secondly, the kind of innovation they can bring, and they can try to make the given institutions more intellectually rich in resources by their innovation and research outcome. And then you need to make them accountable. It cannot be first you demand and then say, if you bring, then I'll facilitate. That perhaps may not work. So those transformations in terms of thought process, in terms of seeing faculty for what they are, and also facilitating would be required, which is going to be the real test of time, that how institution accepts. Here you can see that all the great institutions have got a way of considering faculty, identifying their contribution and appreciating their contribution. There are all examples available. We need to find and follow whatever fit into our context.
Professor Tandon, you mentioned about Industry 4.0. In fact, to develop skilled and competent future workforce, higher educational institutes like us, stakeholders, we are focusing on instilling experiential learning modalities for students of all disciplines. So what is your take on it?
Number one, Ashwini, thank you for, it's a very, very thought-provoking question. Number one, what is 4.40? What does it require? A gradual paradigm shift. That is very, very important. 4.4, before I attempt my 4.4, my dear students, at least who are not aware, your education 1.0 is your lectures, what we have been doing it, and the memorization, training, what all we do, assignments, everything. 2.0 is how we will make you good workers, read and write. Everybody should be saksham for a job. Then 3.0, the computers have come and the industry knowledge is to be focused. 4.0 industry interface, AI, as well as the other lifelong learning, emphasis on the EQ rather than IQ, right? And modular degree, one shot going, that is the aim of a 4.0. It has to be global engagements that is more important for a 4.0. Since 4.0 denotes the changes which are very relevant to the industry, we will find that all the lectures we do, it has to be internet-enabled learning, knowledge-based learning, which is not enough as on today. We would like our students to be global entrepreneurs of tomorrow. That's how we have been doing it, and the human skills EQ will be the most important thing for all the global engagements they can do. Number two, I would like to ask Dr. Ashwini, Dr. Madhuman rightly said that the digitalization, Dr. Naran also in the beginning said that we must have a more personalized learning approach. Dr. Mishra said that even the examinations pattern should be very accurate, we can dispense away. Now, in this assessment, when 4.0 education comes, offline, online assessments the students may have. As on today, also, Dr. Madhavan knows, still, Dr. Ashwini, all important meetings of our committee, academic committees, everything, when we do into the international engagement, still we are doing it on an online mode. We don't meet, if it has to be, even the faculty council, which is happening on an internet mode, 4.0. All the best. One thing is, 4.0 will demand a critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordination, emotional intelligence, judgmental decision making, service, negotiation, and your cognitive, I'll put it, flexibility. You cannot, you should be always flexible. Basically, you must be able to look into what is happening into the virtual learning. After today, cognitive learning abilities, this is what NEP talks about. Your schedule, which is there, your part 3 talks about very clear that you must have a robust professional framework and a career planning should be made on a technology driven transformation, and it has to be enabled technology, modern and smart technology, AI, robotics, in finance. I still remember I have been interacting with Dr. Madhavan a lot into SMS, fintech, neobanks, which are happening. So these are some new areas which are happening, and 4.0 is going to be a very big way to meet the demand of the industry. So it has to be a demand-driven industry approach, 4.0. Okay, Dr. Ashwini sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, Dr. Narang have mentioned about the vocational education in the
Yes.
inaugural address. So
Correct.
NEP 2020 key focus is on, in fact, student centricity, flexible curriculum with multiple exit options, and in fact, vocational education for 50% of students. So
Yes, sir.
Professor Madhu, what added advantage students you see after the implementation of this reform, according to you?
See, the basic is what all my panelists have also emphasized, and Professor Ashwini, you have also emphasized, is the multiple exit option. You know, you are given a 7-year window. Okay.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, if I'm not able to pursue my degree, you know, I have that option of coming back without paying exorbitant fees. The flexible curriculum, the focus on vocational education by 50% of the students. I think those are, very great ideas. And then this whole focus, which emphasizes on less content, but more knowledge. And, that is what I would say, is one of the important key focus on student centricity. I'm also remembering there was a quote by Professor Abdul Kalam, who, we all look up to in this sector. He says that the purpose of education is not to just make good human beings. It sometimes goes a little beyond that. So you create good human beings with skill and expertise. And this is what our new education policy also is aiming at, giving the right skills. So you do find there are lots of, in fact, even in Delhi University, there are lots of skill and value added courses. And like what Professor Tandon was mentioning, it has become mandatory for all institutions to have value added courses. It could be for a week, it could be 2 weeks, but the value added courses, it's what gives an edge to my students. And then this focus on setting up labs, which gives us a hands-on experience. So, there were a lot of areas like a typical OB or an HR or marketing, where we thought we could not set up labs. But now, this this focus, the way the new education policies gives a focus on for the higher education institution, that also gives it a way forward, So it will help in providing better students, better professionals to our society. That would be what I say, is the focus of NEP in terms of student centricity.
Professor Mishra, you mentioned about that research and innovation. In fact, a strong research ecosystem in a country builds solution driven and a knowledge based economy. If we look at the research and innovation, it also helps higher education institutions to improve global visibility and rankings. NEP also talks about MERU, multidisciplinary education and research universities, and formation of NRF, that is National Research Foundation. So what challenges you foresee in the current ecosystem for the establishment of MERU or NIRF? Professor Mishra?
Challenges are going to be there, but the
Huh.
good part is the encouraging part is the government has got the determination to bring the things happen, and that is very substantial and good part. That if you see the entire approach, this government brought a policy, but not the kind of a strict framework or regulation. It did not dictate it, you do like this. It helped the institution to adapt as per their context and let the policy work for them the way they want. Outcomes are very clearly stated. And this was a great idea because institutions have started trying, but the bad part was we are being conditioned to be dictated. We have been in a very highly rigidly regulated ecosystem. So we always look for, you tell me what to do, I will do that. So there has been a lot of discomfort, but the government has given the flexibility to innovate, explore, and adapt. Same way, when you are talking of Meru, I think last Saturday, we had inauguration of Chanakya University in Bangalore,
Yes.
which is a Meru kind of university, which is a multidisciplinary education and research university. And it is a public university being supported by the industry people, and there are best of the people on the board, from Madam Sudha Murthy to Kasturi Ranganji himself. He's chairman of the board of governors. Then you have got Mohandas Pai, the Biocom chairman and all. So they have brought a kind of concept, if I could say, at present, where it is going to be a very open university where students can decide their curriculum, their course combination on their own. So all the courses are open. What kind of combination you want to study? You can choose mathematics, you can choose fine art, you can choose design, and you can choose philosophy, and you can study in undergrad. You can take research and all as a kind of your support credits. And faculty members are encouraged to engage hugely on research. They have got all the funds, all the support, mentoring, collaboration abroad, so that this all can be maneuvered and made to work. So this is already happening. Now, how many of such institutions will come up? It will take time, but we will have the kind of good practices, we'll have the good examples, and it will build up. So this is one part, that multidisciplinary research and education institutions are going to be the reality, and that is the need of the hour. We have got so many universities and we don't appear in top 100, top 150 in global ranking and all. We are not even prominently appearing in the research contribution because we have not been designed to do that. It is not that we have any deficiency in capability. It is more the organization and the design of the institution which has not encouraged or not being taken it forward. So that is happening. National Research Foundation is already being stated that it is going to collaborate with industry to generate huge amount of fund. Initially it was said to have 20,000 crore and all, and industry is also being made partner, which will try to get value of that money that they fund to the institution in terms of solution to their problem. And that collaboration is intended to build up the system. The framework will evolve, and this fund is going to be collected from the industry, which appears to be possible. And once that happen, I think fund will not remain a problem for research, and that way the culture will be built up. So you see that already such institutions are being created at model, and that will be followed. On the other hand, the industry is being looked up to for contribution for research foundation or funds for research foundation, which will be utilized by all the institutions.
Well taken, sir. In fact, NEP talks about the structural changes in the regulatory bodies. In fact, NEP mentioned two words, light but tight. Professor Tandon, you are associated with NBA and NEC. How you see the structural changes in the regulatory bodies are going to impact the current education system?
Yeah, there will be only one regulatory body that is
Ah.
proposed in the NEP, end of multiplicity, and a single body with 4 verticals plus the appendages. The 4 ones would be number 1, HERC. HERC stands for Higher Education Regulatory Council. NAC, NAC is going to replace basically the AICTE UGC and the National Accreditation Council. GEC would be the third vertical, that is the General Education Council, and HEGC, that is the Higher Education Grants Council. The only thing is these 4 verticals would be there, but the only thing, nobody has attacked NEP. I do not know Ashwini, what is the state of ICAI and ICSI.
Sorry,
The company secretary institute and ICI, whether they will exist or they will go away, but no more.
Ah.
There is still NEP.
It is also in the planning, sir.
Yeah,
It is also in the planning.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's already in the planning. So my take would be that these regulators are going to come out and yeah, I've been talking and yeah, Dr. Mishra was just also mentioning Mohandas Pai and Atul Sahib was there. So I was doing one of the NEP, I was one of the panelists like you, sir, with them. So it is there on the YouTube, and only thing I just only said, and he was very, very categorically, Mohandas Pai said that a CPO should be there in the organization, a new regulator. And every business school should have a chief people officer who will visualize the risk talent. We have a CEO, we have got a registrar, we have got everybody. And rightly is there that it has to be the collaborative, experiential, and the outcome based, as Dr. Mishra says. The regulators are going to monitor everything, and the due diligence has to be looked into. Yeah, it's okay, Ashwini. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Professor Madhu, what should be the roadmap to realize the target of 6% of GDP on education in coming years? So according
Okay.
to you, what are the steps that we are required to
I
take?
think this whole focus on realizing the importance of internationalization, accreditation, digitalization of education, so as to promote global partnerships with leading universities around the world. And we already have that. We already have a lot of international universities. So I think those are some of the important steps which have been taken. The other point I would like to mention here is that the entire NEP is design focused. There was a time when we used to think design is only a production oriented work. No more now. A design oriented focus thinking means we are looking at solutions, not the problems. Okay. So yes, we have the problems, but when the whole policy is designed as a solution oriented approach, okay, then I think this realizing the target of 6% of GDP, in terms of the education, will definitely help achieve the goal. And then this focus on research, the kind of importance which we are giving to research, setting up incubation centers, setting up technology development centers, I think all that is a very important step in the right direction. In fact, on 24th, I'm part of a risk development code. So it's after the global financial crisis that we had modified the Indian Companies Act. So now we have the Companies Act 2013. And in the Companies Act 2013, it was mentioned that companies should have a risk management committee. So like the corporate governance committee, we are designing a risk management code for organizations. So I think those are important steps which, slow but steady, will definitely have a very, I would say, a measurable outcome in times to come.
So one last question from all the panel members, and
Dr. Ashwini, if I could add to
yes, sir, please.
6% of GDP, spending 6% of GDP is a very challenging task to the government considering the current situation.
Yeah.
When you see their budget deficit and fiscal deficit going high, and the inflation and global recession, being all around. So government is in a very different position. So looking for 6% expenditure on education, for that matter, may be very challenging from the budgetary allocation point of view. But what government has very smartly done, it has given a lot of scope to private institution or private partnership, including the industry, which is going to compensate for this fund requirement. So on one hand, if you look from the government and count it, it may be taking more time, or it may not be immediately possible because of the regions which are known to us all, domestic as well as the global. But the fund, the sources of funds are being made available through public-private partnership and industry funding. As I just shared that Chanakya University has come, 100 crore is being contributed by Jindal Group. That is the endowment they have given. 100 crore was promised by Biocom, Madam Kiran Majumdar Saab. The Infosys and others are going to be contribute. If you say, if such kind of initiative happen, and if this kind of spirit is being developed and education is being kept on the priority, I think things will move even without government spending all 6% of GDP.
So to conclude, we can say that education is fundamental for achieving human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. This new education policy is a welcome step towards the transformation of the education system in the country. It is hoped that with its implementation, India will emerge as a world leader in the field of education. So thank you to all the panelists. So Nandi ma'am, over to you. Ha sir, please.
Yeah, let me also add.
Yeah,
Please.
add
Yeah.
this. I just only want to add, and I want to just give a thought. I think the students are there.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking that we are talking very high-fi things. This is above the head and all. But for the student centricity, what
Yeah.
Dr. Madhu said, only I'll just take a minute.
Yes, sure, sir, sure.
What do you get out of this NEP, my dear students out of it? Number one, what is the takeaway? What are the recommendations you give for students? Basically, and you are one of the stakeholders of the organization. So I'll put you into all C's. One is the communication, creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and you will be aligned to Industry 4.0. Okay, now coming to the faculty members who are academicians out here, I put it 3 F's. The faculty, best of the faculty, intellectual capital, you are the cream of the B schools and the universities. And the selection, Dr. Mishra also said, should be there. And funds. The second F would be the fund, and the third would be the freedom to operate. You must give the faculty members time to research. You must give faculty members to do the macro and the micro research proposals, participate in and Dr. Mishra is rightly saying that even you also said that basically you have to create an NRF. So once you have to create an NRF fund, so you must always incentivize the faculty members. Now coming to the stakeholders, what would be, you must have the best of the experts, engage the best of the experts. That is what the NAP talks about. Having a holistic experience. It should not be in one field, it should be a multiple knowledge, wisdom should be put and imbibed into the curriculum. So the curriculum has to be rechanged, as rightly put by Dr. Mishra and Dr. Madhu Vaishnav, that you have to come to the societal tier down and do a financial inclusion for the excluded also, and bring up upbringing of the students has to be there, upliftment has to be there. Yeah, over to you, ma'am.
Well
I
taken,
just
sir.
conclude with
Yes,
just
please,
one
ma'am.
point. It's basically, as Professor Tandon has very rightly said, what is the takeaway from our students here? Yes, it is helping them not just what to think, but how to think. And I think that is what is being emphasized by our leaders also. And the fact that, this whole thing and this whole NEP and the discussion here is a continuous journey. It is going to result in a change in mindset, but that will happen over a period of time. So before I also conclude, let me say a warm and a big thank you to Jaipuria Institute, to all my very, very dear panelists, and to my young women power here. I always like to appreciate the good women power here. And I hope the school does very, very well. So thank you to all of you once again.
Over to you, Sunandi ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. What an insightful, very insightful discussion. So before we close the session, I would request Dr. Vandana Ahuja, Dean Academics, Jaipuria Institute of Management, to propose a vote of thanks to our panelists. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sanandi. Very good evening to you all, to all the esteemed panelists and the audience. On behalf of the management, the faculty and staff of JIM, I, Dr. Vandana Ahuja, deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks for this event on the National Education Policy today. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra, Director, Maths Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, for a very interesting discourse on pedagogical practices and the need to bring in flexibility across curriculum design, outcome-based education, examination reforms, mixed pedagogical interventions, new curriculum frameworks, the quantification of learning, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We absolutely agree with you, Dr. Mishra, that a good faculty takes care of their subject level competencies, their pedagogical competencies, and their research skills. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Madhu Vij, ex-professor FMS, Delhi University, for her thoughts on cross-functional thinking, making learning enjoyable, bringing down functional silos, holistic education, a holistic approach to education, and above all, an inclusive culture. Thank you, ma'am, for your take on the need to focus on the mental health, and well-being of the students, and above all, the need to focus on ethics. We are immensely grateful to Dr. Deepak Tandon, Professor IMI, for sharing his thoughts pertaining to academic excellence and all the attributes, pertaining to making IMI a great institute. He talked about affordability, publishing or perishing, accountability. Again, his ideas on multidisciplinary approaches and increased collaboration and integration of academic curriculum into the holistic fabric of institutions were very interesting. Special gratitude to our very own director, Dr. Devendra Narang, for not only advising us to organize the event, but also sharing some very interesting thoughts with regard to student centricity, vocational education, mentoring, professional development, research and innovation, and above all, international collaborations. Special thanks to Dr. Ashwini and team for moving ahead and getting all the experts together on one platform. Thanks to all the faculty members, members of the IT team, and the student audience for their cooperation in making this event a success. Thank you all for all your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Great
Thank you.
seminar
you.
conducted very well, and we
Yeah.
all enjoyed,
We can leave, Ashwini sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank